Oh, hey there. Yeah, I was just resting for a bit. It's another warm day in Sacramento. Last I checked, it was 71. The winds died down. Sun is out. Ah, feels like a lazy afternoon. So, welcome to Reflections with me. I'm your host, Chris. Um, what I'm going to do is because I have been asked to do it and I keep forgetting to do it. I've got a little, excuse me, YouTube channel um, where everything is getting archived. And if you missed one of my reflections and you'd like to check it out, but you don't want to dig through my Facebook page, I don't blame you. A lot of stuff there. You can go to my Facebook um, page, channel. Is it called a channel? Anyway, that's it. You want to type that all in, or you can just type in Reflections with CJ. I didn't want to write out my whole name, so I just put CJ, Reflections with CJ. That'll pull it up. So that's the channel. I will put it up again. I hope, if I remember. I don't know if I remember or not. But anyway, welcome to all of you who are with me live. And thank you to all of you who are watching the recording. So you're along with me on this little journey. The readings for today were a little more challenging than normal. When I first read the readings yesterday, I thought, oh, good golly, what am I going to talk about? Because it just seems like, well, we'll take a look at it. It just seems like how can I do this? But I want to lead off a little bit about me because I think I have an insight to the Pharisees and the scribes and what they were all about. When I was a little guy, well, let me just say, I was the firstborn son of a firstborn son. And I don't know if my father got this from his father, but somehow when I was really little, I got the idea, rightly or wrongly, that in order for me to be loved by dad, or even at least accepted by him, I had to be perfect. And if I wasn't perfect, I'd be punished. And I think somehow, even though when I was as being raised Protestant, right, we're saved by faith, not by works. There wasn't anything that I could do to earn God's favor, which is still true. I still believe that as a Catholic. Somehow, I still got the impression that I needed to be perfect to be accepted as I grew older. And one of the things that comes along with that is just sort of like just a tag along, and that's pride. It's pride that I'm a better follower of Jesus. I'm a better follower of the commandments. I'm a better doer of the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm better, right? Because I'm striving to be perfect and everyone else is just getting along. That's an illusion. And it's a setup for a big fall. But that's where I was at. And I think that's where the Pharisees are at. The Pharisees and the scribes, they were meticulous in following the law. And I'm sure they felt they were better than other people. I mean, I love St. Paul, but when you listen to him talk about being the Pharisee of the Pharisees, you can almost hear a sense of, I was the best. I was the best. I was better than everybody else. Just a tinge of pride, which I think, pride is the number one temptation. It's the most subtle and easily to fall into. But be that as it may, let's take a look at the readings for today. Now, I'm going to remember to take this off before I do this. Oh, bye-bye reflections. And now we'll scoot over to today's gospel reading and take a look at it and see if we can, kind of figure out what's going on here. Okay, it's in Matthew chapter 5, partway down, and we are well into the Sermon on the Mount. We're still there. So that's the context, right? Sermon on the Mount. And Jesus says, I tell you, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. That's the bar I'm thinking about. That is they were the epitome of followers of the law. So how can I surpass that? My thinking wasn't right? But we'll get to that. You have heard that it was said to your ancestors, you shall not kill, and whoever kills will be liable to judgment. Straight out of the Old Testament, straight out of the law, right? But I say to you, so Jesus, and he does this over and over again in the Sermon on the Mount, is he reframes the law. But I say to you, whoever is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raka, will be answerable to the Sanhedrin. And whoever says, you fool, will be liable to fiery Gehenna. So Raka is an Aramaic word, which was the language that Jesus probably grew up with. He probably knew Greek. He probably knew Hebrew. And he knew Aramaic. That was his chosen language, I'm sure. The Sanhedrin were a legal governing body. And in Jerusalem, I think there were like 70 of them. And it was like, going to the Supreme Court kind of a thing, right? Where you would be put on trial. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar and there recall that your brother has anything against you, leave your gift there at the altar. Go first and be reconciled with your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Settle with your opponent quickly while on the way to court. Otherwise, your opponent will hand you over to the judge, and the judge will hand you over to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Amen, I say to you, you will not be released until you have paid the last penny. Let's take a look at this. So my whole thinking around the very first sentence about righteousness was confused. So one of the things that I like to do is listen to the Word of God over and over again. There's a process called Lectio Divina, means divine reading. And there's an app, it's called Discerning Hearts, and it will play the reading 2 or 3 times. And you can listen to it in silence with eyes closed, just drop into the Word, get a sense of what's going on. And then, of course, I came back out and I used my little interlinear thingy-majigger. Now, here we are. So, we can see the word righteousness is over here. Dikaiosine. And I better put my glasses on. Yeah, that'll help a lot. Fair and equitable dealing. Justice. No, wait a minute. What? This has nothing to do with following the law. This has to do with, what does it say? Integrity, virtue, generosity, alms, piety, godliness. Right? Huh. Wow. Virtue. Unless your virtue exceeds beyond the scribes and Pharisees. Okay, that puts it in a whole different context. One of the things, he comes down on the Pharisees pretty hard and the scribes. At one point he says, you are like whitewashed sepulchres. A sepulchre is a tomb. I think I mentioned this. It's whitewashed. It's pretty. It's clean. It's all white. But on the inside, it's dead. There's a dead body in there. And that's what these guys were like. So on the outside, it was like, getting an M&M, but there's no chocolate on the inside, just a shell. Or I think I mentioned before, it was the hollow bunny, right? At Easter time, the hollow chocolate bunny. At one point, he says, you guys look good on the outside, but you're dead on the inside. They did all the right things. People that were looking at them would say, those guys are righteous, but they don't have that inner quality that God's actually looking for. And then he explains that. So the bar's not set that high. It isn't. We're not talking about perfection here. Outward perfection. It's not what we're talking about. Right? So I can let go of that. I can let go of that. But what does it say? It talks about murder and anger. Okay. Orisco, here's angry. Right? Let's take a look at angry. Provoke to anger, irritate. Right? Okay. And be liable to judgment. Okay. And if you say raka, here's raka. What does that mean? An Aramaic term of bitter contempt, worthless fellow, right? Or if you say you fool, now what's the word for, oh, moros, which I'll bet you that's where we get the word for moron. You ever called someone a moron? So for angry, if we, speak badly, call someone a moron, it's the same as murder in God's eyes. That's a lot to think about. Then he says, do we need to look at any more of this in the Greek? Actually, you might not be able to see this. So let me do this. I'll bet you I need to change my, yes, I do. So let me do this. Let me stop sharing here. And we're going to go to another page and look at that. Let's see if I can get this right this time. There you go. Now we're looking at the interlinear. I hoped you'd looked at before. So here's righteousness, fair and equitable dealing, right? Yeah. So we don't need to look at that anymore. We're going to go back to the actual text. Actual text. We'll get there. Oh, I see a comment. We'll be there. Let me go to the comment before we go back to the text here. I think a lot of us, Dave, are in trouble. We easily throw these words around, right? Without a lot of thinking. And so this is an opportunity to be a little bit more thoughtful and intentional with our words, right? It's about recognizing something, changing it, and moving forward. So, okay, so I've used this word. Yeah, not the greatest thing. So I'm going to change that. I'm just going to be different about it. So let's take a look at this text here because he gives us some things to do. Jesus does. He gives us some things to do. What does he say down here? Oh, if you bring your gift to the altar and there recall that your brother has anything against you. Okay, now that's another twist. So it's not that I have something against somebody else and I have to forgive them for that, but that they have something against me. And so what I have to do is I have to recognize my responsibility that whether I'm right or wrong, my brother or sister has something against me. And it's about me taking responsibility to do what I can to heal that. That's what he wants. Once again, and if you listen to what Jesus says, he's always doing this. He's always directing things back to the individual. He's never throwing shade on a third party. And he's doing it right here. He's saying, this isn't about your brother and sister. This is about you. Recognizing that you've done something that for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly, someone's got something against you. And if you know that, then you need to do what you can to make it right, whatever it takes. And that's what he's saying here. There's a favorite saying of mine, St. Paul, I believe, and I looked it up. It's on my phone, but I'm using my phone for my webcam, so I can't look at it. So I'm using it from memory. And I believe it's in Ephesians chapter 4, where St. Paul writes, "Be angry, but do not sin." And it's the same word for anger that we're seeing here in Matthew, by the way, in Greek. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. Meaning don't go to bed angry, basically, which is great advice. If you're angry with someone, especially for married couples, it happens. I know they get into fights every once in a while, and one is angry at the other one. Don't go to bed angry. That's what it's saying. That's what he's saying there. Yeah, get angry. You got to get angry. I think anger, I don't know that we can actually go through life without getting angry at some point in time. It's not about getting angry or not getting angry. It's about not hanging on to that anger. Because that's what's happened here in the Jesus story, right? You're going to the altar with your gift, and you recall that your brother has something against you. Chances are it didn't happen within the last 15 minutes. Chances are it's an old thing that they've been sitting on and they can't let go of. And then what does that do? If we can heal that, then our brother or sister who has held this against us for so long can release it, and it's healing for them. And I think that's what this is talking about. So when he talks about getting into the kingdom, surpassing the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, I think I can let go of the externalities and not worry about doing something perfectly. But especially in this time of Lent, as we are encouraged to be more introspective, to look at my judgments of people, to look at the words that I use to describe certain people. I mean, we've got a lot of that right now going on, right? Been going on here for almost 20 minutes. But anyway, we've got a lot of that, not only in the world, but in our country. People are angry at each other for all kinds of reasons. We call each other names. And today's gospel is saying, look at that. Look at that. And instead of calling someone a name, look inside yourself, right? And take responsibility for yourself in how you feel about others and the words that I use to describe others. I think that's what I'm going to do today. So, thank you all for being here today. And I wish for you to be safe, happy, be well, and God bless.